Welcome to the Boring Dads of Jack's podcast thing, whatever. Episode 3. We've got Zach, who's not me, and John, who is me. I hope you like it.
So you said, what's the goal of the
Yeah,
podcast?
my first question was just kind of what's the goal of the podcast?
Yeah, sure. We can let you interview me. That's fun. Um,
Well, I think it's nice to provide a little context for everyone, right? Or not for everyone. I
yeah,
just was asking for myself, to be honest. Is like, all right, how
I
what's the goal?
I mostly wanted to put my friends in uncomfortable situations and then publish those situations to the
Excellent. What a
world.
guy.
What a
What a
guy.
friend. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The premise of the podcast, Mr. Zacchaeus. Can I call you Zach? Zacchaeus doesn't exactly like roll off the tongue.
I prefer Zacchaeus, but if you prefer Zach, you can go with it.
I think the audience is really going to want to hear Zach more than Zacchaeus because it's just a big mouthful. Um, I think the premise is that we as fathers really don't go through a lot, really any training to be a father, and we're just kind of dumped into it. And maybe not dumped is the wrong word. Trapped, that's the wrong word. We're sort of just put into this situation where we're like, we've got to make this big identity change, and do well. And I think a lot of us just don't have any sort of training. We don't know what to expect outside of what our circle has told us, maybe what our fathers or wise ones around us have told us. And so yeah, the that's sort of the context. And then I think the podcast is more of a discussion of what are you doing to try to be a better father? What are you doing to train to be a better father? Sometimes the discussion of leadership has arisen, and where we would define leadership and say, okay, like how are you? What are the troubles that you're running into leading your family, things like that. So I don't know what's most interesting for you, where your mind goes. But yeah, let's go. What do you think?
In response, no, I think that's super cool. So it sounds like the goal in some senses is then that as a community we can learn from other dads in terms of how to be better at what we're being better might not be the right term, but um, evolve
Better's
as
the
dads.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm going for. My
Cool.
goal at the end, I want to interview 100 dads here in Jacksonville, and my goal is to be the best dad in Jacksonville, better than all the other 100 dads, and I had to like do some recon to see how I'm going to do that.
I think you're already there, man. I think it really just needs to be you telling us what to do.
Well, I don't know if anyone would listen to that. I feel like it needs to be participatory just for the image of
Yeah.
humility.
Well, it also helps like the
Uh,
contrast between, oh, here's a good dad myself and yeah, my guest on the podcast. So
You're the first to really get it as quickly as you have. So that's wonderful. I love you as a guest already. Um, Zach, welcome. Thanks for doing this. You're a leader. You're a leader in your home. You're a leader outside of work. I mean, what sort of principles or tactics or lessons have you sort of crossed between or carried over between the two like business leader identity and then the family leader identity?
hmm. Yeah, so this I'm excited honestly as I was thinking about this. I'm not going to answer your question directly, but I was thinking like we don't or at least in my life, I don't really spend any time thinking about this topic. Like
Yeah,
I
me
think I have
neither.
some like natural inclinations from how I was raised and the way I've seen it, but as like a
Mhm.
forum to discuss being a better dad, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have these conversations very often. So I'm super excited to be on the show and I think it's cool that you're like engaging an audience around this specific topic. So I guess my first question is to me like hopefully I'm gonna be I'll be the most annoying guest ever. So you guys are feel free to just cut me off and be like, all right, we're not talking about this anymore. Um anyways, but I guess my first question is like, do there's an underlying assumption there that being a leader at work should be, or there should be some things that translate to being a leader at home. And like I'm wondering, is that premise even right? Like, is that do we run our homes like we run our businesses, or is there maybe there's principles that exist there, but like is that really the same thing? And if we start from that jumping off point, are we starting from the wrong point?
I mean, super fundamental question, very masterful dodge there of my question. I'll go ahead and do the polite thing and answer your question just for the integrity of the of the podcast. No, so I think it's a great jumping off point. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's some key differences around like, well, you're in love and you're committed, and I don't personally believe in divorce. Um, so I think there's a sense of like, well, I can't quit my wife, right? Like I can't quit my job versus like, or like I can't quit my wife, but I can quit my job. Um, I think there's enough similarities to go through, but I mean, in terms of the differences, obviously, I think you're much more committed. Um, oh man, yeah, good initial question. I do see like vision of the family
Hmm.
and vision of business being a good carryover.
Hmm.
The way I've thought about it has been, and when I think vision, I think of like the six attributes that we talk about at work of an effective leader, regardless of position, title, status, whatever. If you're a leader, good leaders tend to have integrity. They tend to have competence in areas related to being effective, good judgment, humility, drive, and vision. And those are true for work, and I certainly see them being true at home. Like I have to do trustworthy things. I have to be good at being a father, good at being um, a husband. So yeah, and then like all the rest of it, like drive to continue to be better, humility to know what I'm doing wrong, good judgment, timely judgment, still make decisions, things like that. And then vision for what I want my family to look like, as well as vision for what I don't want my family to look like. All those things carry over. I think it'd be boring for me to think through in silence all of the ways that it's similar, like business and home are similar and business and home are different. Um, but the one big thing that comes to mind is the level of commitment is definitely different. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're looking at it through that lens, right? Like those are very much, well, maybe not. I don't know. I see those as being very intrinsic values, right? Like a lot of that is things that it's more the character of who we are almost rather than the um, principles that apply from work. But I guess I will say, so I guess I'm thinking about it out as I'm thinking about it. One of the things that I've been working on personally as a dad and husband, because I don't know if I think those are pretty intertwined. But
Hmm.
I think like our ability to plan is like so. My wife and I are terrible planners, and I think
Okay.
that historically without kids that had never been an issue because you have enough time to make up for some inefficiencies in terms of like how you go about things. But we have two daughters right now. One's a 3 year old and one's an eight I guess almost a 10 month old actually. Almost a 10 month old. So it's just like as we have more children, time gets squeezed. And so without planning, what we're finding is one of the things is that like our ability to do the fun things that we want is impacted because we're not doing the things that we need to do, right? So
Hmm.
the difference of like, hey, in order to do the things we want to do, we need to make sure we plan the things we need to do. And I think that's something
Yeah.
true as a leader at work that you're always trying to juggle, right? You're trying to create a plan to go execute against. And without a plan in both scenarios, yeah, there can be some failures there.
I can dig that. I think with a plan, with any plan there has to be a goal, right? And I think brings up like, well, what's your goal? And then you can say, what are your set of goals? What's your and goals to me, I can link to vision, mission, values, stuff like that, right? But like One of the questions while you were talking, and I was thinking of what I was going to say next, was I'm kidding, but was like, is your plan to have? So you're planning to do the things that you need to do. Can you make it, but funds being sacrificed for that? Can you make the things that you're doing fun? What's the goal with fun? I guess I don't know. This isn't coming together as well as I thought, but um,
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. That's actually
hmm
that's an interesting idea. Is like,
Thanks for saving me there.
why do me and my wife place a value on fun? Right? Like that
Sure.
seems like that's and my answer, that seems like that's one of our goals, is to have fun
hmm
with our children. So as a father, my goal is to have fun with my daughters. And so
hmm
why is that important to me? More so than say nap time every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so like, what am I willing to sacrifice in order to have fun, or what am I really willing to maybe prioritize is a better word than sacrifice.
Yeah, it's a different value from me. I don't think of fun like I don't think of fun very often. I do think a lot of need. And I am a good planner. And so I kind of operate based on like, okay, what do I need to do today? And like one of the things I need to do is I need to go to the gym. And I link that to I don't want to get fat. I don't want to die early. Like it is like it's that logic chain
Okay.
that quickly to like if you get fat, if you don't go to the gym today, you're going to be more likely to get fat and then you're going to die early. Like it is that close to me.
Yeah.
Um, but like it's not fun. Like I don't think of it as like I'm going to enjoy myself. So I don't plan necessarily around fun. I kind of like outsource that to my wife.
Mm.
And so yeah, I guess we are sort of in some ways planning around our values. Um, but you were saying like you weren't you didn't plan beforehand, but you do plan like with business. Do you find that you're planning at home the same way that you're planning in business, or sort of taking lessons from there?
Yeah, for sure. I think we're not doing it the same way, but I think lessons that I'm learning from how do we as a business go out and then plan, and then really a plan's only as good as you can execute against it, right? So
hmm
planning is the first step, and the next level of that is execution. And so,
hmm
right, as a business, we're always trying to understand, all right, how do we plan better and how do we execute better, right? Because
hmm
if you can do both of those things, we're going to be further along in over whatever time period than we would be if we're not good planning and we're not good at executing. And so
hmm
I think a lot of those things that I'm taking are they're pieces of that kind of filtered through what's going to work at home, understanding that my wife is an equal with me as I see it,
hmm
right? In terms of at our home. Um,
Yeah,
and, and not someone who I get to just tell to go do something and they do it, right? So how do we
yeah,
incorporate some of that? But there's a different level of buy-in required
yeah,
to bring things at home, to bring those ideas to home. So I think that's kind of the
definitely.
difference. Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a floating topic in my head around like lessons from my father, and not to talk smack, but like lessons from my father, different, lessons from different generations and how unapplicable, how misapplied or how I've misapplied them with my lovely wife,
Interesting.
who is also an equal to me and does not just do everything that I tell her to do. Like I thought that's how marriage was going to go. I'm a leader.
Exactly.
Do everything I say. It's going to work out. I
Yeah.
promise. It's like, no, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Um, so what would you say are some other values of that you are planning around?
Well, I think like you're saying, like I think it's kind of there's what do my daughters need,
Okay.
right? And I guess for me, one of the things they need in their life is fun. Like, and I was hoping we would jump into kind of where you were going. And I don't know, maybe you've already done this on other episodes, so maybe it would be a
Let's
weird
go
thing.
and
But
let's do what you want to do. That's
well,
fine. I don't
no.
say
I
that
don't want to.
sarcastically.
I want to tee it up for you, and we can go there if you want. If we don't, we don't. But
Yeah.
like, I'm super curious how influences shape how we father, and then
Okay.
it ties to this need, to this idea of need too, because I think it also influences the things that we think our kids need, right? And then it
Hmm.
also influences our role in how we provide for those needs. Um, and I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Okay.
think it's cool to get personal, right? Like I think it's
No,
cool
no,
to
totally.
say,
That's the
"Hey,
point.
I
Yeah.
listen to John every week on his podcast. Like, who is John and why does he think this way?" And
Oh,
um,
oh yeah.
anyways, I guess that's something that I think would be really fun to dive into, but we don't need to do that.
No, well, we're going there now. Let
Okay,
me floss a little bit. All right.
get
Now
it.
we're ready.
What'd you
Um,
have for lunch? What are you getting
yeah,
out
I
of it
don't
with that lunch?
remember. I truly don't remember. I think I like stole some meatballs off my kid's plate.
Nice. Okay,
Um, yeah,
you didn't need
I
those
had,
meatballs, right?
you know what I had? Now I remember. I had four meatballs and I had four yogurts.
Wow, well, that seems like a lot of yogurt.
It kind of does, yeah, but they're like the really sweet, useless yogurts that really don't have any nutritional value, but they're really tasty, and it's
Are
like,
we talking
oh,
like the
ice cream.
Yoplait and the Yoplait with like the tin top? Oh, wow, I
Yappers,
haven't had one of those
yappers.
in so long, man. That sounds
Yeah,
delicious.
yeah, they were really good, and I had four of them while I read a psychology textbook, which I get all of that whole span is incredibly unrelatable, but it is a Friday. Um, and in the immortal words of Rebecca Black, you got to get down on Friday. So I had a little space to myself, and I was gonna eat some Noosa and read about evolutionary psychology theory. So, to your point, to what you were saying, some of the things that like I think as like that I learned from my dad, like provide and protect, right? That's the role of men, provide and protect. And I think there's as I've kind of studied Carl Jung, I'm I'm more open to while I think most masculinity resides within most men, like I feel like I'm in touch with my feminine side enough to also allow in my head the space for like masculinity existing within women and things like that. So when I think of like masculinity and femininity, like I think there's obviously slippery slope argument and all that kind of thing, and there's some big problems with this if this goes too far, but like I think there's overlap. But when I think of like what the masculine role is meant to do, it's provide and protect. And that seems to be like a universal archetypal thing. And so I I have like I definitely sharpened my instinct around providing. I've doubled my income since my son. So I feel like I'm providing well. I have this like instinct of side hustles. I don't know if that's like I got it looks like I'll just make do a side hustle. What am I gonna do? Oh, I know, I'll start a podcast. Haha. Right? Like maybe there'll be some revenue from that.
Yeah.
But then protecting aspect is like I've gotten sharper with what is a thing that I'm my instinct for what merits protection. Like I don't think about like wanting to fight people on the street anymore. It's more of like ooh, this person hurt is might be threatening my son or my wife, and now I'm like ready to go. So that's been kind of cool, but I've also started jujitsu, another like, dad past 30 type thing to do, and kind of honed that. So I know that those aspects have come from my father. Some other things, like a big dynamic that was true was a dominant submission dynamic with like the roles of husband and wife. So my dad was a very dominant man, and he said things, and my mom did them, and we did them, and that was just it. And there wasn't any, you just did them. Um, and I tried that with my wife for like 10 minutes or so, and it just didn't work. Um, she's just
It sounds
not
like you
built.
waited to get to do that until you got married, which was a good call. Like,
Yeah,
don't actually do
she
that while
did.
you're dating. Just wait till you
Yeah,
get married, and then that should
yeah.
happen. Yeah.
She didn't have a sense of smell. before we got married. And about 3 weeks into it, after a large night of brisket, we she developed her sense of smell again. So I was like, okay, well, that was that. I'm glad that happened after we got married and really locked you in. Um,
Yeah, you never would have married me if you knew what I smelled
She
like.
really
Yeah,
would have, exactly. Like, what did I do here? I'm
that's now
gonna
your
get out while
biggest
I
fight.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The reoccurring fight.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, that dynamic just did not work. So I mean, I have had so many times where in our fights, I will revert back to just stop. Like that's I'm taking control of this situation. It's the end. I say when it's over, and it like comes from the depths and captures me. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, yeah.
so like ingrained.
Oh,
And she, like her family did not fight like that. And so it doesn't work.
oh,
And she, she's like, oh, what?
yeah,
And then like it gets worse. So that dynamic has certainly changed. I also feel like apparently, not to besmirch my father, I have it on good authority that he wasn't super active for me with like between ages 0 to 4.
mm,
And so there's this thing that happens with my son where I'm like, do I need to be outside playing with him right now? Like, I think I need to go work, or I think I need to like take a nap or something like that. And I have to shake myself out of that because if I'm
mhm,
not alert and careful, I'll fall right into it. And so those are some things that have come that are a bit more unconscious that I know I've gotten from seeing my father's dynamic, among other things. Like I'm very quick to anger. The anger is in my head righteous. Something hurt or something I'm afraid or whatever. And a lot of times when I re-examine it, it's just not true. And
mm,
it's so I've definitely developed more empathy for my father as I've gotten older.
yeah.
And he's passed away, he's passed away for about 12 years now. And, but like at the same time, I'm also like, I think respectfully kind of, what's the word? Pruning, the aspects of that tree that are not, going to help my son,
Mm,
help my wife anymore. So I'm
that's
curious
good.
your reflections of that.
Yeah, man. So there's a lot of stuff, interesting things that I think you touched on there. The first thing is like the idea of protection, because I agree with you. This idea of provide and protect is definitely part of our roles as fathers. And like one of the things that struck me recently is like I actually think my most important role in terms of protection is my daughter's minds. Like with social media and access to everything. It's
Hmm.
like part of my job is to protect my daughter's innocence. And so like that goes for me as far as like what am I watching on TV where my daughter might be awake and hearing things or like what kind of like I've had this growing awareness of like the commercials that play while I'm watching sports. Like the
Mm.
sports themselves are benign, but you jump like all these commercials start coming up and she's way more dialed into the commercials than she is into the sport, right? And man, I'm just starting to rethink how I think about protection because I think for the and I don't maybe the data is different on this, but like the reality is that as fathers, like a physical confrontation is probably unlikely as it relates to protection of our children. But like we live in a society that every day through social media, through TV, through friends, through sleepovers, right? Like there's all these crazy places that our children's minds are being impacted. And it's like, what is my responsibility as a father to protect the most precious part of my daughter? And that's her identity and her mind. Um,
Man,
and,
yeah.
and I don't
I've
know.
got to
Yeah, go
no,
ahead.
I've got something for that. That's a wonderful point.
Mm,
And I think that, the history of our species is that warfare has always been present and largely a lot of like our brains are still hunter-gatherer brains in a modern society. Even still unchanged by modernity or changed to a very, very small degree, right? So we still have like our limbic system that's like resources and like I gotta mate and I gotta retain resources and achieve status and things like that. And my dad was certainly like my dad was like Fox News dad, had the guns and knew how to use them and stuff. And I mean, he would have us, which I'm grateful for, but he would have us like run drills through our house in case there was an intruder,
Oh
like
wow.
how to peek around
No
corners and
way.
stuff, and like super tactical type of thing. So like that's useful if the Russians ever attack, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, exactly.
I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but
Yeah.
like I think there's to a degree there's this like you need to be able to I was talking with another dad yesterday and he's like, he said I've softened so much with my son, like but I'm still, still hard, right? And it's like, but you need to be able to go to those, you need to be able to go so far as to like go the distance to protect. But what gets missed in that mentality, and it's certainly missed with my father, is like there was a lot of stuff he did not protect me from.
Mm,
But then there was a lot of like, if anything physical were to happen, which never happened,
yeah,
right? If anything physical were to happen, like he was going to take care of it. So
yeah,
I and maybe our dads grew up in a different time where the physical stuff was actually more likely to happen. But dude, I just think you're so right about that. It's like, I'm probably never going to get in a fight. I want to know how to fight when I can, or when it maybe does happen, or I need to protect him. Um, but at the same time, like there's probably other places we could turn our attention.
yeah. Yeah, and that's for me is like when we talk going back to the very beginning about needs and wants for our children. That is like I think my primary driver and why I think fun matters so much is a dad having fun with his children is
Mhm.
because I see that shaping identity. And I think as a father, like one of our most important things when we're evaluating what do my children need is how does it shape their identity? And that's how
Mhm.
does it shape their understanding of who they are, right? And so it's like in to me, like I had a dad who played and was a ton of fun. And like to me,
Mhm.
that was one of these things where I just think having fun, laughing, that shapes the identity of and my dad wanting to play with me, it shapes my identity of like, hey, I am wanted in a way that my dad wants to be with me. Right. And
Yeah.
so, like, that's really how I start evaluating how I've been starting to, I should say, how I've been starting to. And I'm terrible at it still, right? Like, oftentimes I'm probably choosing the wrong thing, even though
Mhm.
there's this awareness, but it's just like, when we start looking at the idea of needs through the idea of protecting my daughter or my son's identity, I think it
Mhm.
really changes our perspective on a lot in terms of how we want to be parents, and or how we want to be fathers, and even our interaction with our spouses. Because I think, and I don't know, I'd be actually be curious if you know of any kind of psychological data around this, but how a relationship, how a kid seeing relationships between husband and wives impact identity. Um,
The family marital stuff, I'm not super, um, I haven't read a lot of. I mean, developmentally, when you talk about the formation of identity, it's this lifelong, I'd say it can kind of be this lifelong process.
yeah, makes sense.
But it really starts to solidify for maybe I'm using the term wrong, neurological reasons, but it starts to solidify like after adolescence. But I was actually just reading this earlier today where, zero infancy, ages 0 to 3 to 5 or so, there's a lot of intimacy and there's a lot of connection. Everyone knows that. And then after that, they start like after around 4, you probably heard like children will start identifying more with their peers, right? Like the influence of the
Makes sense.
parents starts to drop off, and the influence of the peers starts to increase, right? So who they're around really, really matters. And this is why socializing them is really important and not making them, making sure that they know how to share and play well with each other. But play is the central component of it. So what you're saying seems pretty aligned with the relevant literature around like, okay, well, I'm going to play with my kid so that eventually they can, go through the journey of identity formation well. Um, Play is I've heard that, we have excuse me, my chair cracked. That was my chair. It was definitely just my chair. Um, um, play is an exploratory um, mechanism. If you think of what happens when you're playing around, you kind of like testing stuff and, getting in here, retreating, that type of thing. Um, but it has like a play circuit in our brain. It's a very natural thing. And knowing you, knowing your personality and how like jovial you are and full of joy and like you're very, you're quick to laugh, you're quick to joke around. This when we first met, that one fine evening on the beach, I just loved your laugh. It was just such a beautiful laugh. Um,
I definitely got you should you I have two brothers, and so
yeah,
with my dad there's four guys. We all
yeah.
laugh the exact same. So we definitely got that from our dad. Speaking of
I wanna,
fathers,
I
inherited
wanna bring you.
traits.
I want to bring you all to a stand-up comedian or stand-up comedy room and just let everyone be annoyed with your laughter of how
Oh,
loud it is.
happens all
I
the
love
time.
it. Yeah.
We've been told multiple times at restaurants, like this happens basically anytime we're together. People will come over to our table and be like, "You are way too loud. We can't enjoy our meal because we're just cracking up." So it
I love that,
happens
dude. I
regularly.
would never do that. I would never do that. No, but I mean, this is a part of you. Personality is genetic. It's not only genetic, but it's largely genetic. And so it would make sense that you would want to continue that part of you in your children through play. So yeah, that tracks, and I'm not really sure about. I mean, if you think of like it would make logical sense that the way that I mean, it's certainly true for me. Like the way that I saw how my parents treated each other was a way that I thought people treated each other. So like I have a really weird relationship with authority. Um, I want to be told what to do instinctually because it's a really safe place for me. I want to be liked by authority figures. Um, Consequently, I've actually, or weirdly enough, I've been in a role where I've had very laissez-faire, very hands-off authority figures, and they've just kind of let me do my thing, and I've been really successful. But I've kind of always had this longing for some almost like father-like figure to say like, "Hey, do this," and I say, "Okay, sounds good. I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to be really competent at that."
Yeah.
So it's been hard to like kind of break out of that and think for myself, but all of that came from, dad was really smart and really dominant, and he said, "Go do this. This is what we're doing," and say, "Okay." And then when he passed away, there was this huge identity explosion with my family of like, who are we now that
Huh.
like the figurehead is gone? So yeah, it's
So how
I
does that
think
how have you
yeah,
taken that like kind of learning and applied it to how you were a father to your son?
I definitely have introduced choice, probability, and a long-term view with what I reinforce with him. That's very intentional. So like I'll say things all the time. It's more likely that you're going to get what you want if you say please. It's more likely you're going to get what you want if you stand back, watch these kids play, see how they're playing the game. Okay, now try to go in and do it. And it makes sense for him. Even with discipline, I'll say like, son, like if you keep violating these boundaries, if you keep doing things when people say stop, people won't like you and you might even be completely isolated, which would be like you're going to lose your friends or you're going to go to
Yeah,
jail, right?
yeah,
And those are long-term consequences that are real. And, if someone says, "Hey, stop doing that," and you annoy them forever, like, okay, you're not going to be friends with them. If
yeah.
you hit them, they're not going to be friends with you. You can't initiate force. So there's, I think that, that's my answer to that question.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
Did I
no.
go off topic?
No, I think yeah, no, I think that's super that just brings up it's one of the things I've been thinking about. It's like, how do I shape So like I think for my like just me personally, one of the things that like I just kind of it's kind of like maybe you're talking maybe similar degree like I care what people think of me, and I tend to think that I think I care too much about what people think about me. And so one of the
Mm,
things I've been wondering as a father is like how do I raise a daughter who doesn't do socially unacceptable things but who cares less about what people think? Because I think if that's our barometer for interaction or like our goal for interaction is to have people like you, we often end
hmm
up in places that we never would have chosen if it wouldn't have been for the people around us. Right. And so like that's one of the things that I've been trying to like figure out for my daughter is how do I shape that ability to not care what people think about you or not maybe you don't care at all but like that's not a priority because for me that is such a priority and I actively fight against that. And then is that even a worthy goal for me to be trying to instill in my daughter, right?
I
Like
don't think so.
yeah.
If I being totally blunt,
Yeah, no, that's
I
good. I think that's the
yeah,
part of the podcast, like let's shoot holes in bad thinking.
yeah, I want and I want that. And here's the premise, right? Obviously, there's a pathological. There, you can go anything in the extremes. I think
Yeah,
aside from loving Jesus is probably not good, right? So I don't care what anyone thinks of me at all. Okay, well, great. Now you've got like Ted Kaczynski out in the woods, shipping packages to
sure.
people, or you've got like an antisocial psychopath, right? Like who's like, I don't care what anyone thinks, right? Okay, that doesn't work. And then, oh, I only care what people think about me. Well, then, you've got major problems there. You've got the quintessential like people pleaser who can't think for themselves. They get, taken advantage of all the time, like stuff like that, right? Like at the very far in the pathological end of, oh, I care what everyone thinks of me. So there's definitely a balance, and the balance that I want to introduce is around identity and reputation. Like you have to think of reputation. You have to think of to a degree of what other people think of you. Like she needs to know, like she needs to care about what other people think of her so that she can have friends and be well adjusted and well adapted, right?
Okay, so okay, that's but so I guess I would push back on that a little bit is that
No friends, huh?
no, not no friends,
You're
but
gonna
I
homeschool
guess I push back on and maybe we're probably saying the same thing, which often happens in arguments, right? Is that
her?
but I think the tendency of people who are guided by people liking you, there's a tendency for wanting people to like you to push you to making what I would consider wrong decisions. And so
Sure,
what I want to
absolutely.
emphasize with Sophie is not that it doesn't matter what people think of you, but that I'm going to say acting appropriately. That's not the right way to think about it.
Hmm.
But I'll say making the right decision is the right decision regardless of what the consequences are of friendships, right? And so like
Yeah, I
I don't know
got
if that
you.
distinction makes sense, but
No,
it's
it
more like
does.
and so the way that I've tried to or so let me leave, I'll pause there. Like what are your thoughts on that?
The balance would be, so it can't all be reputation, but the balance would be principles, right? So you establish the
Right.
principles of like, this kind of is almost like from a physics standpoint, the way the world works, right? You don't want to be running around getting peer pressured to drink and drive or be in these really bad situations where you're doing something unethical. And that those to me are moral foundations that you instill early on. And then, when they're at a point where they're actually able to make their decisions, then it's like, well, look, like, yeah, I care about what my best friend thinks of me, but like, it's wrong to steal the liquor from the ABC store, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's
Right,
like
for sure, yeah.
stuff like that, right? That's where I see the balance is like, there's definitely a sequential nature to this of what do we teach first, and you certainly I think there you can simultaneously say like, well, no, you don't hit, you don't initiate force. That's wrong. Okay. And also, kids will not like you. You don't
Yeah.
hit them not because they're not gonna like you. That's not the reason you
Yeah.
do it. You don't hit them because it's wrong to do. Morally,
Right.
you can't initiate force. which is why I don't spank.
Well, good. Thanks for. I think you said that really well. I'm sure we can. I could go way deep on this, but I think it bored nearly everyone, so I won't
I
go.
don't think
But I
it
think
bored
you're exactly
anybody.
right. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Is that,
Yeah,
and I guess the reason I brought that up is how am I teaching my daughter about the reason why she doesn't do things, or the reason why
yeah,
we're encouraging her to do things, right? Why do
yeah.
chores matter? Why do you, in your example, not hit? It's
Hmm.
because it's the right thing to do versus because people won't like. And you're saying the same thing. We're agreeing on that.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought it up is I found myself going first to the reason being, well, you're not going to have friends versus the moral principle. And so like I found
Yeah.
myself needing to readjust the way that I talk about the reason for
Hmm.
things. Um, because I think I've just naturally slipped into what matters most to me oftentimes,
Sure.
right? So anyways, that we can probably get down a rabbit hole in that.
Well, the rabbit holes are good, man.
Okay.
I like rabbit, roasted, fried, whatever. I'm just a big fan of it. Um, call me Southern. But the one thing too is I think there's like I'm very interested in why. I was always interested in
Yeah.
why. I love asking questions. I love figuring out cause and effect. I just think that's fascinating, and I've always been like that.
Yeah.
I've been reinforced to be like that as well. Professors have liked that. Teachers have liked that. Authority figures have liked that. In early stages of child development, they're so concrete that you don't. But like my kid just does not understand why.
Yeah.
I ask him, why did you do that? And he'll say over and over. Or I'll ask him, why do you feel that way? And he'll say, because I, and then he'll tell me a story about a truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And he's probably, I mean, just to be on the safe side, he's probably the smartest boy in the world, but he just doesn't understand why.
Yeah.
That's not a concept that really he gets yet. And so I can explain it to him, but it doesn't matter. It's a developmental thing. It's a certain aspect of a certain part of the brain, prefrontal, whatever, that is not developed enough for him to click that yet. So the things that I have to say have to be really concrete, right? And we are in a state where I can explain cause and effect and sequences. That's cool. But we're because he just turned 3, so just for context there. But he can't get why. He also he does better when I say, don't do that. No. And this is an area that I feel really uncomfortable because it is a because I said so. He doesn't ask why, he doesn't want to know why, but I know eventually we're going to get out of this where I
Yeah.
can say, it's not because I said so. I'm not going to be lazy and just keep saying that and then because I said so. Like authority, the authority figure argument does not really appeal to authority, doesn't that can work sometimes, that has to work sometimes, but like it's got to be beyond that. It's got to be the moral reason, right? Just as you said. And then I think the other aspect is like, well, we also live in a society and there's a utilitarian argument, there's the kind of like a what's best for you friendship argument that you can go through. So, yeah, it's just I think a lot of us like get into these situations where we're hit with I don't know what to do, oh my gosh, and we just sort of react and there's not a lot of reflection time around was that good? Was that bad? What does it mean if I yelled at my kid or if I hit my kid? And now, does that mean I'm a bad parent? Um, if yes, what does that mean? Like we can easily, if we take the thinking, if we think through things too much, it can threaten a lot of who we are and our whole world. And so I think it's just way easier not to think about it. And I do that. I don't think you're wrong if you don't do that or if you don't think through stuff, but I don't know, maybe that's the instinct behind this whole thing is to discuss it and kind of flesh it out to some degree.
Yeah.
So, thanks for guiding some of these questions, man.
Oh no, yeah, no. I'm like I said, I'm super. I think this is a really cool conversation to be having, and like one of the things I think is like, how do we get at the I'm going to call them assumptions, but maybe it's deeper than assumptions. Maybe it's like the just this the ideas we have about fatherhood and being a father. How do we get about how do we get at the things and have the conversations about the things that we might not have right? You know what I mean? Like I hope all your listeners can hold
Hmm.
loosely that, hey, I'm not doing everything quote unquote right as a father, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's not messing up your kids, but by having a conversation, we have an opportunity to learn more from other dads about, hey
Hmm.
man, I never had actually thought about that idea. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this will improve my ability to be a dad, thinking about this one additional thing. And
Yeah,
so
man.
yeah, I think it's
That
cool you're having the conversation and engaging in it.
Thank you. Thank you for the reinforcement. And thanks for being a part of this. I'm not going to end here. It kind of felt like we were ending,
No,
but
no,
gotcha. We're
no.
not.
I got
We go till I say stop. So no, no, no. To expand on that, um, I have definitely found a pacifying effect in a good way
yeah,
happening when I talk to my dads. I mean, like, you and I being in a disciple group, you and I having other dads to bounce stuff off of, like, there are things that get reinforced that are wonderful. Such as like, no, like for me, for us, like, we need to read our Bible every day. Like, that's just got to happen. And I have this added layer of guilt, and I know that's not the primary thing we should be working off of. Like, have this added layer of guilt of like, yeah, well, our buddy Ryan is reading the Bible, or like Zach's reading the Bible, or like every Monday I know you're fasting. Should I fast today? And I don't, but like there's still the option to, because my bros are doing it. There's also stuff like I remember I was in this really like long-term fight. It was like a week-long fight or something like that, maybe 2 weeks with my wife, like early on into our marriage. And I talked to the buddy of mine, and he was like, like 30% of all differences, or he said differences or fights or something like that, are basically just irreconcilable in any relationship. Like, there's just a certain part of your marriage that she's not going to change and you're not going to change, and that's the way it is. And man, like, once I heard that, I was like, great. Okay, so I can just deal with this. Like, I'm going to interrupt her, she's going to interrupt me when we get in fights, because we're both extroverted. We're not going to change that. We can try to be polite to each other when we do it, but that's just going to happen. She's always going to be upset when I get volatile, and when I have when I get angry at stupid stuff. That's always going to happen. It's never going to change. Good. Now I know that. Now I can progress the next 50 years knowing that and act accordingly. So yeah, like the having the conversation with other dads has really, really helped improve me exponentially. I mean, like way faster than how I would get than where I would go on my own.
Yeah,
So,
one of the things just to that, I was talking with a dad the other day, and he said something that's super interesting that made me think about. And and I'm gonna butcher it. He said it way better, and I don't know if this is his own idea or if he read it somewhere, but he said what he sees as one of the primary roles of being a father versus a mother is that the mother is there to, I think he used the word nurture, but basically like just make sure that the children have what they need. And he said a big part of what I see my role of a father is to show my children that they can do more than what they think they can do. And so
mm,
part of that is when they fall, I don't always pick them up. When they
yeah.
cry, they learn. And this idea that as a father, I'm actually he I don't know if he said it explicitly or implied, but as a father, my like I, yeah, I need to make sure I'm aware of like I'm not just coddling my child. I'm the one
Mm,
who has to push them and allow them to experience things so that they know that they can do more, accomplish more, they can deal with failure, they can deal with pain. Um, and that's one of my roles as a father. And that was super interesting to me because that's not maybe my natural inclination as with a daughter is like I'm very much protector. Like I want to make sure she's okay always, right? And so that resonated. That is probably partly my role. So I don't know. What any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think where my head's going is that the whether or not it's coming from the father or the mother, those aspects are important,
Yeah,
right? Like I need to see, like my wife is definitely more threat avoidant and threat sensitive to my son jumping off the couch. We have a little circus thing. It's like we have like a ring, like a hula hoop. We light on fire and he jumps through it. And sometimes she kind of freaks out when his foot gets caught on fire. And so I'm way more cool about that, right? I'll be like, oh, it's not a big deal. He'll learn how to pat himself out. And she's like, no, 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 he's on fire. He's gonna burn the house down. He's gonna get a second-degree burn again. Um, and I'm less threat sensitive. And so like I think we naturally fall into those roles of like she's gonna nurture more, but I think nurturing is an important aspect of the
yeah, absolutely,
of the experience, right? And I
absolutely.
think also expansion or ascension. Those are the words that I thought of when
Yeah,
you were talking about like you can do more. Like you can, hey, you're hitting the T-ball with out in the yard. That's really good. If you keep practicing, you can do even better. This is a really cool thing about my wife. She's a brilliant musician and beautiful songbird, singer-songwriter, and is in a couple different projects, and she goes to band practice, and my son will ask, where did mommy go? And I'll say she's off practice, and I'll make him say practice. And he's good enough now, he can be like practice. And be like, okay, so practice is doing something over and over to achieve a better result. And so, like, this concept is in his head of do more than where you're at now.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I think whether that comes from mom or dad, I think both of those elements are important. And I think why I sort of detach it from there is because I've seen my wife, when he, misses the hoop and jumps through it, and kind of bungles it and all that. She's like, okay, get up. She doesn't always, grab the fire extinguisher and try to put him out. So.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and that's kind of
Feel like
like
I
I
have
just
to
kind of
I have
yeah.
to smile to make sure people know that I'm joking. You know I'm joking. You've seen my home.
Oh
It
yeah,
couldn't possibly entertain a
a
hoop.
fire hoop. Yeah.
No, no way. It's too small.
Yeah, nice. No, yeah, I think yeah, it's kind of like that kind of was like, okay, what is my primary do you have like a primary objective and oh, nice. I like the whole tone,
Oh, this whole thing.
huh? Anyone who just listens to this is gonna be like, what in the world just happened? Um, John
All
just got
right, you
out his
said you have a.
mustache comb, so it was
I
quite
did.
the comb,
I
yeah.
did. What were you saying? Yeah,
Do you
primary
have
what?
like a like what's your primary objective raising your son?
Growth. I'm super happy. Yeah, like growth. I don't know where that came from. I feel like that was a God. Someone asked me, he said, what are you most excited about? Oh, so you're going to have a son. Like, what are you most excited about? And I said, his growth, because that is a lifelong thing. Um, I think there's more specific things of like him growing in Christ and growing to be a disciple of God. And I think that's writing is awesome now, man. He's like, he we're potty training, so whenever he like pees on the toilet he screams at the top of his lungs like praise God. So that's pretty cool. He also, it's funny too because I like to bodybuild. I'm not good at it, but I do like to do it.
Wow, okay, I
And
didn't know that.
so like
Take off
yeah,
that shirt. Let's see those muscles.
every like amateur bodybuilder in listening heard, oh, I didn't know that, and they know the sting that I just felt there. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you liked to bodybuild. I couldn't tell. You look like you lost some weight.
Yeah.
I can bench 405 minus a couple plates. Um, so, but I've also got him. saying like Ronnie Coleman things like, yeah, buddy, like, or lightweight. So
Yeah.
that's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, the growth in those areas, obviously there's precedent or there's priority rather on certain growth areas. But he'll always be growing. So, even if hopefully I make it to be a grandfather or a great grandfather, like he's always going to be growing and I'm always going to be stoked about that. So I'm excited for his growth. His growth is my goal, and then growth within different areas. I think life is largely about expansion, is balance, ascension, and expansion.
So does
So
that
about
shape the
yeah,
way you father then with that goal of growth? Like maybe more
yeah.
specifically, instead of that question, how does it, if that's the goal? What does that
I
look like
am.
practically?
Yeah, I think it kind of falls on me being a little hard on him, which I'm cool with. My dad was hard on me, and that had some good outcomes. And conflict is a good thing. I'm not a person that wants to shy away from conflict, from people being in conflict. I think it produces some really great results, and I think without it, there's some bad things, like bad outcomes tend to follow. So I will push him. Like one easy thing is when he's very vocal. So like I'll get him to say certain words, and they're getting to be bigger and bigger words like philosophy or Diogenes and stuff like that, like. And if he mispronounces a word or if he's kind of lazy with it, you can tell sometimes when he just doesn't know versus sometimes where he's like, oh God, blah, 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 blah. I will not let it go until he has tried enough times to be like, okay, like maybe two or three times more until he's gotten it right. And then I'll reinforce it. Um, Same with like if he's trying to do a jump, like he likes to jump off of stuff now. So like if he's trying to do a jump and I can see what his intention is, he misses it. I stop what I'm doing. I'm locked in. I'm like, all right, do it again. Try it like this, right? Like he was doing I was laying in the bed and he was like he was pushing up on my knee and trying to like bring his feet up to my like thigh and shins and like hold himself there, like on my knee. And I could see what he was trying to do. He wasn't doing it. And so, in the instance of like, or in the example of like, how do I help him grow? I was like, okay, keep trying it. Come on, don't give up. Keep going.
Yeah.
Um, and so stuff like that, like progressive, you can call it progressive overload.
Huh,
Some behaviorists call it like chaining.
huh,
So like chaining different behaviors together to get to kind of like a sequence of behaviors.
huh.
Um, yeah, that kind of stuff, man. I mean, also like say this to your mommy or clean up your room looks like pick that up, put that over there, pick that up, put that over there, pick that up, put that over there. That's called cleaning your room. Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, right? So that's how that comes together. That's how the practice of like growth comes together for me.
That's a cool
Yeah.
word. Yeah. I haven't heard that as a goal, but I think that's that, like you're saying, that encompasses a lot in a
Hmm.
single word. And I do think having a goal like I mean that's simplistic, but it does help shape, like it's a filter by which you get to say, as a father, the way I just responded, is that building, is that expanding, as you're calling it, right? Is that giving my child the ability to ascend to this kind of
Hmm.
growth mentality, right? And I would
Yeah.
assume you catch yourself at times saying, hey, this is not that every action you do needs to be like towards this growth goal, but I would
Hmm.
assume you catch yourself finding yourself in places where it's like, oh, that was actually anti-growth. That was me
Yeah.
doing it. I'm doing too much for them, as an example,
Yes.
right? Like I'm speaking from my own perspective of like, I
Yeah.
think I'm doing too much for my daughter right now. So,
Right. That
but yeah, it's
and
a cool
I
word.
what I'm doing is hurting the growth. Like there's times where like I have to get out of my head to, and I know we're coming up on time. I have to get out of my head to, like, he knocks on the door and he's like, Daddy, Daddy, I want to show you something. And I don't really want to see it because
Yeah.
I want to do what I'm doing now because, like, I'm way more important. Um, but, I have to stop that and say, okay, yep, come in. Like, that's going to be better. and then there's definitely times there's enough of a ratio there where I'll be like, no, sorry, I can't. Like that would not be growth, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I feel bad about that. So I know that like, okay, that didn't feel right in me. Or like when I yell, and I try a parenting tactic that's just not good. Like it totally, I can feel it inside me that I'm like, that's not growth. That's not helping him.
Mhm.
This is
Mhm.
making it worse. I need to pause. I need to apologize. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you think it's cool. I'm glad you like me. Um, care about what you think of me. Um, thank you, Zachamus. What's your middle name?
Aaron, Zachamus Aaron.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Zachamus Aaron. It's beautiful. Very Greek, um, or Roman rather. Uh, thank you for being on this. We're gonna close with today's sponsor, um, a post-it note.
Oh, nice.
There's a lot you can do with different kinds of pieces of paper, but what I like to do with my pieces of paper is cut them into evenly spaced cubes and then write notes on them and put them all over the house. Um, for if you buy my, this is terrible. I'm going to cut this out. This is bad. I'm practicing for
Are
when I
you
get sponsored.
okay? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I like that. Who
yeah,
you
it's a
going after
cold
first
read.
for sponsorship?
I don't know, man. I mean, let's maybe brainstorm about that. Like, what would be a spot if I were to get it, I could just bounce after that. Like, just
Oh,
stop
oh
doing
wow,
all of it.
you're going high level.
Exit. Yeah, go like
Exit.
shoot
You're
straight
going
for the top,
all the way to the
do an exit, get
top.
out,
Yeah.
sell the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do the whole blippy thing and just get someone that kind of looks like me to run the
Oh,
podcast after
perfect. Yeah, with AI tools.
that.
Yeah, you could just
Yeah,
create the
why not?
conversations. Yeah, you can create the dads too. It's easy. I
That
think you
would be
might got to
so
go
good.
level up though with the name of your podcast though.
But boring dads of jacks.
Yeah, it's a boring dads of America. You know, if you're looking for that kind of exit, you got to go. I think you got to go a little bigger than Jack's.
I think they call that scalability, or scaling. I'm not as nimble as you.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, I have a little
So
twitch
clever. Yeah, a little
sometimes
twitch.
when I try to wink. It just looks ugly. Yeah, I mean sponsors. Who would I go for? So, a dad sponsor that would make sense. Uh,
I was thinking like Southern
dude,
Swell. I was thinking like Southern Swells off the bat, you know, like some local
yeah,
brewery here. Um, but that was very local, and I'm not sure they're going to get you the exit you're looking for. So
I don't know,
I'm
man.
thinking too small right now.
No, that's the point. That's the whole point is like to keep it isolated to Jacksonville, because Jacksonville just won the most boring city in America.
Oh, is that
Um,
true?
yeah,
No
yeah,
way.
that's where it came from.
Oh wow, I
It's
can give
like,
you a few other ones that I've lived in. So yeah.
yeah, Albuquerque.
Yeah, exactly. That's that. Talk about boring. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think some places were so boring they weren't even polled.
Yeah,
Um,
they weren't they
so,
weren't even on the list because they never heard of them.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I would definitely say Southern Swells would be good. You know, a couple brews. When I go in, that would be nice.
Oh, there you go.
Hoppy Porch
Oh,
in the
Hoppy Porch.
in the
Yeah,
hood here at the beach. That'd be nice.
they threw the party of
Um,
the year the other just the other week.
they did, and they've got some new times opening up for well, they're getting some new times opening up for like stay-at-home moms.
Oh, nice.
It's like to um, I think Bold Bean Coffee or Southern Grounds
Okay.
Coffee. That would
Okay.
be a nice sponsor. I go there
Okay.
enough. Um, and then I think the parking authority of Atlantic Beach.
Let you park wherever you want for
Yeah,
yeah.
dude. $2 a month, I'll shout you guys out. That would be it. Yeah. Start
Hilarious. Yeah.
small, then scale. Yeah. And then I can franchise,
Yeah,
like
there
the
you go. Yeah,
boring dads of
exactly.
Cleveland.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to close, so
Okay, that's the end of that episode. Hope you liked that. I hope you learned something. I hope you're a better father because of it, or you're going to be a better father. There's people out there who are trying to be better dads. I'm one of them. My buddy Zach is one of them, and I hope you are too. So let's keep getting better. Let's keep grinding, boys. Let's get after it. All right, cheers. Bye.